The Story of Me is brought to you by LiUNA, Ontario Provincial District Council. LiUNA, feel the power.
Hello, our guest has gone from humble beginnings to being sought by some of the most famous celebrities in the world. And in the process, he has become a celebrity himself. We welcome today celebrity photographer George Pimentel. Hello.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to see you.
It's been a long journey. It's been a long journey.
A long journey, and you are so busy. I sense that you're so busy that I doubly appreciate you being here.
It's not about being busy. It's about, there's something I think God brought into my blood, like this DNA that I can't stop. It's just, I'm born like that. I need to keep going. Even during COVID, I just need to keep going.
Yeah.
I was born like that. When I was a little boy, and
it's good to be like
how do they say in Portuguese? Nunca para.
Nunca para. You never stop.
Never stop.
And that's good. When I say humble beginnings, and as I was driving to the studio, I'm saying, wait a minute. This guy, this gentleman, is a third-generation photographer.
Don't make me cry.
And your grandfather, maternal grandfather, in the Azores, in the beautiful island of São Miguel.
Laranja. Snow Laranja.
Okay. He was already a photographer, which I think he was a bit of a celebrity himself.
Well, the photographer in the town was like the doctor.
Yes.
He was an important person.
Yes.
He documented the village. He went to the festas. Back then, you have to understand, my grandfather photographed on glass plates. There was no cell phones back in 1940.
Wow.
He had to coat the chemicals on a glass plate.
Yeah.
And back in there's a special photo that he has of the school day, and there's probably about 300 to 400 people on the escadas of the igreja.
The steps, the
and
church.
He took the photo, and I looked at the photo, not one person has closed their eyes. That's the respect. How important.
That's incredible.
The respect.
Because some of those pictures, sometimes the faces were distorted or...
But you have to understand, no electricity, no nothing.
That's right.
Had a little studio with a skylight doing portraits.
Interesting. So, I'm saying he's a celebrity. Your dad becomes a photographer.
Because of my uncles.
Okay.
Custodial photo.
Okay.
That was located everybody would know in the community. My two uncles, my Uncle Bill, who just passed, my Uncle Herman, who's in Brampton right now, had a partnership. But my father in Santa Maria, not a lot of people, was in the hotel business.
Santa Maria Island in the Azores.
He didn't have the training of the photographer. But when they came, they had a partnership. They opened a studio in a college in Augusta called Custodial Photo.
Yes, so he became a photographer here.
He managed the studio, but time passed, and three older men grew the business, and they realized that they needed to go their own ways, and that's 1661. Dundas opened up because my father took a chance.
Yes,
and he said, "I can do this. I know enough." And he ran an honest business.
Were you born here?
I was born here.
Yeah. Okay. So you were born after your parents immigrated.
I was the fourth of my three siblings.
Oh, you have three siblings.
Yes.
And you?
I'm the baby.
You are the baby.
And I was the one in the studio helping my father, holding the flash at the baptisms.
I know.
And all the weddings of Casa Bril and the Renaissance, and all the Europa catering.
How old were you when you started helping your dad?
I was probably like 12 years old.
12. That's young.
That's young. We had to do it.
Yeah. What kind of kid were you then?
Oh, I was I was shy.
Were you shy?
I was shy. I have to admit. So I changed. I changed a little bit.
You certainly did. Were you
I'll
quiet?
tell you, no.
Were you quiet?
No, I had a good. I was still a loud, funny, loud personality, but I didn't understand the school system. I didn't do well. I wasn't a great school. I was never focused. You could not focus on calculus and biology. So I had the arts in me. So only in grade 11 and 12, I woke up and I said, well, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And I said, I want to go to school.
I was thinking that Einstein apparently flunked math. But great minds sometimes are like that. They don't quite adapt to the school system.
It literally started with my brother giving me a little camera and me doing street photography, taking pictures on the street, and that's all I did.
Yeah. Other than helping your dad at age 12, what else did you do? Did you have...
I was an athlete. I was a jock. I was on a soccer team. That's all I did. All I did was play outside with my friends. Back then, there was no cell phones. That's what we did. We hung out.
Yeah.
I was very blessed to live in a community in the suburbs. And I had, a very great upbringing with friends and family. And we went on family, Well, my father we had a little cottage. We were very lucky, and we went up to the cottage every summer. And it was very nice.
So you helped your dad by taking pictures of weddings, baptisms, and community events, right?
I decided what was important was, and this is very important, that I really want, and I'm proud of this, that I said to myself, I want to go to school. And a lot of people said, why do you need to go to school for photography? You have your father's business, you can just take it over.
You can practice,
And there was something in me, and I had my brother, Frank, was also a photographer. So I saw, he went to school, so I had influenced that. I said, I need, in me, I could feel that I don't know if I see myself in the studio for the rest of my life. I wanted to travel. I wanted to see the world. That's what I wanted to do.
This desire to expand on an education basis, but also beyond that, was this something that you considered to be the big takeaway from helping your dad?
It's the hardest thing in my life that I had to do. I had to look at him in the eye, and it was hard because he was getting older, and the business, I took over the business. Everybody came to me. But I said, I need more. And it was hard for me that I said to him, well, I'm going to apply for school. But you have to understand, I didn't get in. I didn't get into Ryerson. And I didn't get in the second year. I kept applying, but I kept working back and kept applying. I never gave up. And the thing is, as those 2 years, when I was about 18, 19 years old, I decided, well, I need to go somewhere else. And I worked with another photographer, another wedding photographer in the Forest Hill community. And it was so different because I had the Portuguese weddings that were in these small little beautiful homes. And then I was kind of dealing with the upper class in Forest Hill. And it broadened my mind. But when I came back to my father, I said, I need to expand, and it's going to be hard for me to do both.
I read a quote from you about something your father told you that stuck to you, about trying, never giving up. Do you remember that?
Well, my father...
Was there a big message from your dad?
Well, it was a simple message, but I live by it. And and when students come to me and they say, what's the meaning? How do you do this? It's in a business. I mean, a simple quote, do a good job and they will come back. Like, how easy is that? Just do your job. Just do your job. Show up on time, be responsible, be reliable, and your clients will always call you back.
It reminds me of the gentleman who started the casinos in Las Vegas. And everybody said, why are you building a casino in the middle of the desert? He said, you build and they'll come.
Yeah. Well, that's a famous quote, of course.
Yeah.
But for me, at that time, I was driven. At 19, I went, going to a university and learning photography,
Yeah.
you have to understand. In the back of my mind, I was still worried about my father. I had to help. And I remember everyone was doing all these artsy photos, and I was printing the communion photos with in the lab for my father, and people would laugh at me. So, what are you doing, like this type of work? So this is how my father makes a living. This is how we make a living.
Yeah. So you did graduate with honors from Ryerson University. You got a BA in photo arts. Now, before we talk about your illustrious career, what is, in your opinion, what makes a photograph, any photograph, a great photograph?
That's a great question. For me, it's very hard to explain, but there's a moment. It's a moment. A photograph is a moment in time. Mm-hmm. It could in 1 second, you can freeze frame the world. And some people could relate to it. And I think it's successful when you forget about all the technical stuff, the lighting, forget about all that.
Are you talking about the timing?
I'm talking about the timing, like the decisive, Cartier-Bresson said, like the decisive moment.
Yeah.
And people will recognize that and they will relate to that.
Yeah.
And that's what's so special. Every square second that we're traveling through life, there is a photograph. There's a photograph right here. There's a photograph right there. There's moments. The question is, can you relate it back to your life? And that's how people relate photography.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, it's almost like it's a document, but also at the same time, on an innocent level, it's a beautiful memory. And it doesn't have to be artistic, or sometimes it can be so simple, but it's a beautiful memory that could take you back.
Yeah.
It's just a document.
Yeah.
So that's what's the simplest photos of your father in front of a cake at a birthday party.
That's right.
Could make you cry.
That's right.
And that's how powerful it is.
Yeah, it is powerful. Do you have any photographers that inspire you?
Oh, I have to, every day, everybody inspires me. Sometimes they're not even photographers, But I came from, I came through my life. I went through different stages of photography. But when I was in school, my mentor, my person I idolized was a Canadian photographer. He's passed. His name's Joseph Karsh, and he was a classic photographer.
Oh, yes.
And he photographed. Going back to those, he photographed all the legends and all the icons. He photographed the Pope and the presidents
and Prime Ministers,
everything. And so he was a very in second year. He's based in Ottawa.
Yeah.
He was probably 85 years old. He was at the end of his career, because in the 50s.
Did you meet him?
I got an appointment to meet him, and I had 1 hour to meet the famous Joseph Karsh, and I took a photo of him, and I'll never forget that. And it definitely influenced me to photograph my journey.
A great photographer. He was.
But there's many, a lot of people don't realize, women photographers there's so many women photographers that are my favorite, like Diana Arbus, Mary Ellen Mark, and Margaret Book
They
Wright.
bring a certain sensitivity.
Annie Leibovitz.
Yeah. Now, some people in your profession choose to photograph nature. Others concentrate on world events. Yet others point their cameras at social issues and so on. Now, you've mainly chosen to cover the who's who in the entertainment and fashion worlds. Not exclusively. We'll talk a little bit about other types of photography you've done. But I think I'm correct to say that this has been your emphasis, right? What attracted you to this particular area?
It came to me. It fell on my lap. When I look back, I'm 54 years old right now, okay? And I've been doing this, I could say, 30 years. It's been a journey.
It's a lifetime, yeah.
It's a lifetime. Now, how this all happens is a lot of people tend to want to go after something. In my case, I never went after it. It fell on my lap.
Really?
This is the story that I share this with everybody. It comes back 360. My sister, my oldest sister, was in film school. She loved movies. My father, and back then, my father being a protective father, back in the early 80s, really my sister always wanted to go out and see movies. And he said, oh, no penses east. That was old school. And my sister would have to take, my father said, you can go to the movies, but you have to take your brother. So I went with my sister.
You went with her.
I was tormented by Hitchcock and Scorsese when I was like 12 years old. So I was watching movies since I was a kid. And that's the key to this, is that one day, my sister said, Robert De Niro is coming to town.
Robert De Niro.
I am the biggest.
He's up there.
I am the biggest Robert De Niro fan. I love The Godfather and Goodfellas and all those mafia movies, and he was coming to town. And the moment of truth, I knew nothing. I'd never even been past Bathurst Street. I was always on Dundas West and Lansdowne. I'd never been past
That was
Bathurst.
your world.
That was my world. I was a kid.
So you go to this event.
I go to this event with my old school, and it was film, and I'm so excited because Robert De Niro was going to be there, and the photographers were there. There's 5 photographers only, and the security looked at me, and I had that camera right there, and he said, "Media over here," and I didn't have a badge. That was how it was done. Like there's no cell phones. I had a camera. He thought I was a professional photographer.
All of a sudden, you were media.
I was there. I was media. And sure enough, I was waiting. I was so excited. Robert De Niro came out of the limousine. The flash bulbs went off. The chaos, the excitement. It was like so exciting. And he walked in. Like it was just like gone. I was so like encantado. Like, oh, I saw Robert De Niro as a star. He was a star. I was starstruck. But sure enough, I was packing up. And the moment of truth was, they asked the photographers to go inside to photograph the intro, but I didn't have a badge. And I saw those photographers walk in, and I said, in my heart, oh, I wish I could be one of those guys. That's what I said. And it stuck with me. And then sure enough, there was a little bit of confusion, and they brought Robert De Niro out. They brought Robert De Niro out to pose for photos. And the photographers had all left, and I was there.
No way.
Bang. I took that photo, and I said, this is what I want to do. And that's how it started.
What was it about the event? It was I guess your adrenaline was
There was a rush, but you understand, I came back, I took all my wedding skills, and I brought it into that. Yeah. You have to be fast. You have to think fast. You have to, capture the moment. And so I had it in me. And I just loved, because I had the school, I thought this would be an interesting project, and I went around, and because I photographed old Hollywood, and I became addicted to it, and I started getting connected with the autograph collectors, and they knew all the information where people were going in and out, and I would go back to the film. I never had no badge. I just printed the photos in my darkroom and I collected.
Now, over the years, and I'm glossing over, forgive me, you have photographed famous celebrities such as Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Lady Gaga. And then you've captured iconic moments like William and Kate's royal kiss.
And Meghan.
The wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So from actors to royalty, you've actually captured in photographs some of the most famous figures of this century, actually. Now, you also regularly attend the most prominent film festivals in the world, Toronto, Cannes, Sundance, and Venice, the Oscars, the Golden Globes. It's a huge list that I've got here. Now, you also are the official photographer for some of the most interesting projects around the Toronto Film Festival, Netflix, Warner Brothers, and so on. Now, this seems to me as very time-consuming, intense labor, fun but intense labor. How do you manage all of this? Are you some kind of
Ask my wife.
Juggler? You still have a wife. You were very lucky.
Yes, I married my first love. Of course I did.
So how do you manage?
And she's Portuguese too.
Yeah?
Yes. We have 2 beautiful children.
Yeah.
I'm blessed.
Yeah, but how do you manage?
And she steers me. Well, I tell you, it is. Sometimes I suffer many hours of anxiety.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop. Like, I have an event right after this. I have another event tonight. I enjoy it. Like, for me, this is not really work. Like, this is not waking up 5 o'clock in the morning and doing construction on a building. This is a very
But you must be a great planner. You must plan.
I have to plan.
Things.
I try to make things happen.
Yeah.
Like just yesterday, this is a fact. This is a true fact. Just yesterday, I had the Association of the Canada Walk of Fame. The president called me, and he said, I'm about to jump on a plane. Can you arrange a photographer in Los Angeles? Because we have to photograph Keanu Reeves receiving the award. Right away, I called. I like to make things happen.
Yes.
And I've learned from my father, like, I like to make things happen. It's very, like, I don't have a lot of time, but I manage my schedule.
And you've reached a stage probably where you have some influence and even some power.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
You do this long enough, you get connected, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess I've built this reputation. I want to be trusted. I want to be that trusted photographer. I never wanted to be the paparazzo in the bushes. That's one of the things that people don't understand, is that they get confused between when they see a camera and a celebrity, they put a very negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
I fought very hard for 25 years to stay away from that. I was always wanted to be the trusted photographer. When I started taking pictures at the beginning of my career, I always asked the celebrities. My approach was, I came to them and I was nice. I had my camera in my bag and I said, can I get a quick photo of you? And they would say, sure, but hurry up. And I would take one photo. And I kept collecting, but I always gave back. One of the things about me is that I always gave back the photos to the publicists and their management to show them what I'm all about. My pictures for me were never deer in headlights. They were very important, that they were beautiful, timeless photographs. It was street photography at nighttime with a flash. It was one shot with the same type of lighting. It was very,
So all of this
But that's
seems,
what I always wanted to do.
Yeah, because of your particular approach, things happen.
I don't want to be screaming at celebrities.
Yeah. Do you have any big challenges? And if you could choose one, what would be the biggest challenge of your career? It seems that access to your subjects is not a challenge.
No, people think it's easy.
Do you have any challenges at all?
I don't think you understand something. I'm in Canada. I still operate out of the building, 1661 Dundas
You're still
West.
there, eh?
It was important to me. It was important. I was going to move to Los Angeles, but I kept coming back because it keeps me real. And the challenge is that I have to keep things real. I want to keep things. I don't want to get lost in the hoopla of the celebrity world. These people are just...
So the biggest challenge would be to be true to yourself at all times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And don't get ahead of it. Don't think you're bigger than your hype.
And in this business, it's easy to go astray a little bit.
Well, of course, especially imagine all of us, you understand, being in the Portuguese culture, being an immigrant, any immigrant always wants to prove that they've made it in life. Right? Now with social media and everything, everybody's just like, look at me, like, look what I'm doing. So I try to keep it humble, and because it's about the work. It's not about me.
Yeah, I'm just curious about one thing. One thing is to take a picture of a celebrity. Another thing is to dance with them, mug for the camera with them, pose with them. You've been able to get this close to your subject.
It took me a long time.
How did this happen?
Because what happens is that there's a moment where they don't know who you are, but if you can get close enough and work with them closer and closer, when they start getting you, when they start figuring out who you really are as a person, as a human being, you become at their level. And so then when I see Sandra Oh, you have to understand, I've photographed them before that they were even famous. They were up and coming. I've always been that person to give recognition to the up and coming celebrity. I don't need them when they're at the top. I need them when they're at the bottom. It's more interesting. I meet them at these film festivals and they're there just trying to make a movie and they have the same journey as I do.
In some way, you're part of their success.
And like I said...
And they recognize that.
They will. And they're human.
And
if you treat them human and you take away the celebrity, because they're tired of people always gravitating to them and complimenting it. But if you're real to them, you can bypass all that. And they appreciate it. Like, I talk to Brad Pitt like I'm talking to you. Mm-hmm. They're the normal people, and they appreciate that. They get tired of the phoniness. So I kind of bypass that, and that's why I can ask them to dance.
Yeah, and actually that picture looks great. Now, I wanted to turn the page to this pandemic because I know that you have taken some pictures, some very interesting pictures. We have one back here. Now, this pandemic has changed a lot of people's perception of their world. It has affected people's attitudes, lifestyles.
Everything.
How has this pandemic affected you as a person and as a photographer?
Imagine the news hits and we hear this thing called COVID and we're not taking this seriously. And then one day we find out Tom Hanks has COVID and the NBA season is canceled. That night I said, this is serious. And then I was talking, this is very important to the Portuguese, because I guarantee you or anybody in our community has had distant relatives that has passed away in the Spanish flu in 1918. Yeah. And I've had my wife's grandmother's, the sister of her grandmother, died in the Spanish flu. So I was talking about this at the table.
Oh yes, the Spanish flu.
The Spanish flu, and that's what influenced me. It was very important. So I went to research the photos of the Spanish flu, and I saw these people en masse in 1918. And I said, we are in for this. And people say, oh, we're going to get a vaccine in a couple of months and we're going to be fine. I said, no, this is, and I thought, remember we talked about like what makes a great photograph? Yeah. There's a photograph out there that to this day is probably one of the most powerful photographs I've seen in a long time. Is that it's a couple in 1918 with their masks, but they're dressed. And
well dressed.
They're arm in arm.
Yeah.
And I said, look at that. Before we had to social distance, not even a pandemic could stop their love. Yeah. For engaging and embracing each other. Yeah. That was powerful for me. And then I said, I want to document this. I want to document. You understand, all my events were canceled. I got emails.
That's right.
Emails, everything, all my events. You understand, everything was canceled. People, anything with crowds, gone. I said, this is crazy. At the same time, I was thinking to myself, is this almost like a sign that maybe to pull back? And it was kind of, a lot of people say the same thing, that it was kind of nice to pull back and reset. Yeah. But I said to myself, I can't stop. I can't be one of these people staying inside. I can't do it. I have a camera. I went back to street photography. I went back to my roots that I used. I wanted to feel like I was 18 years old again. And I did. I got a camera. Yeah. No celebrities, no publicists, no management. And I walked the streets and I wanted to photograph how people were adapting to this pandemic.
To the pandemic.
And from photographing frontliners, from photographing how our community was affected, how families are affected, elderlies, there was a lot of problems.
Yeah, and you've been involved in this Canada COVID portrait project. Tell me about this specifically.
Very specific. My idea was, I looked at my photos and I said, well, how is Vancouver or British Columbia or the East Coast or the Indigenous, how are North and how is everyone in Canada dealing with this? So I created a hashtag, a simple hashtag. A hashtag on social media called Canada COVID Portrait. And I promoted it. I said, everybody submit your photos. If you have photos, and I got some media, and the story, it kind of escalated because the story was George Pimentel is not shooting red carpets anymore. He's not with celebrities. Now he's photographing COVID. And I encourage everybody to submit to the Canada COVID Portrait. And we got over 10,000 photos.
So you had a great response.
We made an exhibit at the Harbourfront, and it was the best thing I ever did.
Wow.
It was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah. That's great. Now, we talked about your wife. Do you have children?
Yes.
Yeah.
My son got COVID at the University of Western.
How old is he?
And I documented it.
Yeah, how old is he?
He is, right now, he's 19.
Oh.
And I have a daughter at 22.
Wow.
And fourth year Ryerson. And she's
Ryerson? What is she taking
there? There you go. She's taking creative industries, the business of arts. The business of arts.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud. I'm very proud that they continue.
So you have a couple.
I have a boy and girl.
That's good. Now, how do you balance work and family?
What do you mean? I'm everywhere. I bring them with me.
But I think you're a great balancer.
I'm there.
How do you do it?
I coach baseball. People don't even realize. I put my family first always.
Yeah.
I have a good team, and I'm not at everything. And I have a team, and I send out my team at events, and I have to make a living. Like, it's a good living.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you have any hobbies that just for yourself?
I'm obsessed with golf.
Golf.
I play golf. If I'm not at an event, I'm golfing. Yeah. That's true. I'm sad because golf just closed.
It's also a great way, I'm told, of connecting with people.
Well, of course. No, it's good for my brain.
Yeah.
It's good for me because I hear the birds and I hear landscaping. I see the landscape.
Golf courses are great little
and I get my exercise.
Enclaves, and you get your exercise. Yeah. Now, your parents are not alive anymore.
My father is 88 years old.
No way.
He's still.
That's cool.
And my mother passed. My mother passed at 65.
Oh.
Yeah. But my father's still going. And he comes to the studio and he comes down there here and there.
I'm just curious, what does he say about his son's career and success? Does he say anything at all to you?
I don't think he understands it, but I know he's proud. Okay. He always was my father being a businessman, it was funny because he always wanted to make sure, all this work has to lead to something.
Yeah.
And he always wanted to say, I hope you're making a little bit of money out of this. I hope you're supporting, don't be like a starving artist. I hope you're not. So he always encouraged me to make a living. Have fun, do your work, but make a living out of it too.
So does he still give you advice on
every day?
Every day?
All the time.
Because he cares.
Never. My father,
of
course.
He cares. Yeah.
But you have to understand, going back to the pandemic, the first photo, I'm sorry, we're just going back to this thing.
Yeah, that's
I need
fine.
to discuss this. The first photo that really hit me was I went to go visit him. And at that time, nobody, the elderlies were not coming outside.
No.
And so I went to the house, and I called them, and I said, just come outside. There's nobody around. I want to see you. And he came to the thing, and I didn't open the window, and I put my hand on the window, and he put his hand, and I took a photo. And I took a photo of me with the window. And it's sad, it's emotional because I have my mask, he has his mask, we're behind a window. This was right at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And nobody understood the barrier of that window. When you visit people, there's always, I photographed people hugging with plastic on.
Yeah.
So it
but that photograph of you and your dad also shows how close you've been to him.
Of course. He raised me.
In good times, bad times.
Hey, listen, it's like, listen, when I first started my career, we were fighting like cats and dogs. This is how it was. I was trying to grow up.
Yeah, it's good to fight.
It's okay.
Sometimes.
It's okay. But my father was you know what? He's an honorable man. He never bounced a check, paid his bills on time, and he raised his family.
Yeah. That alone is a great
accomplishment.
Sure. Now, you said that you're still on the same. Your studio is still on Dundas?
Still there.
Don't you have any plans to expand?
I'm going to tell you something.
Somewhere else?
I'm going to tell you something. The most beautiful thing happened to me last week. I'm going to tell you a story. Once in a while, visiting Quant, I get a phone call. Senhor, você está aberto? Eu quero tirar passaporte.
Somebody wants calls you for a passport.
And I do it.
A picture of a passport.
They want me to take their passport photo. Like my dad's old customers, they come in.
Yeah.
And a man, he said to me the other day, this is funny. He said, senhor, eu quero tirar fotografia para o cemetery. I said,
a photograph of a...
For his cemetery. When he passes away, he wants to get it ready. He wants to get the photo ready for the tombstone.
Oh, for the tombstone.
And I thought that was so, because he probably has nothing better to do. I said, come on in. And he came in.
And you took the picture.
I took the photo, but as he was standing there, he said, conheço Batiste. I said, conheço Batiste? Well, that's my father's brother who passed away and was patient 10 years old.
Oh.
So he knew him. This man was 90 years old. He knew my brothers.
Yeah. How interesting.
I said, how is that?
That you've kept a foot in the community in such an engaging way.
So important. It's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
It's community.
So you know what your roots are.
I enjoy people.
Yeah.
I see the people. I see my old customers. They're getting older and older, and they come in and they talk to me. I have the priest there. I have the bakery there. I go to the bank. It's a beautiful thing. It's such a beautiful thing. Good for you.
Now, this is terrible because we're coming to an end. And as I talk to you, I have so many other questions. But every good thing comes to an end. Are there any famous faces right now that you would like to photograph that you haven't yet? Famous faces, celebrities, anybody that you haven't done?
You know, it's funny. There's two things that I kind of regret, but it's part of life. Sometimes there's celebrities that have passed away, and I said, oh man, I would have loved to photograph like Princess Diana. I never photographed. Right now, I'm watching on CNN, like, you know, those documentaries on her. I said, oh my God, what a person! But it was before my time. Kamala Harris, like I would love to photograph Kamala. Like she could be president one day. Like there's so many up and coming people that I still need to discover, because you have to understand, 2 years. The film festival really hasn't come around in 2 years. So there's going to it's going to be a whole new reset.
There's going to be a new crop.
There's going to be a whole new crop, and I can't wait for that. But you know, I love watching movies and seeing great performances, and I like still being a fan. Like I have to connect with them. I have to see them in a role, you know. And there's certain people, you know, like I'm watching the show Succession and on HBO, and I'm like, I want to photograph. I haven't photographed Brian Cox, but I haven't photographed everyone else. I want to photograph them. Because I connected to them on a screen, and so that's what it's about.
When you sent me photos for this interview, for this wall, I looked at this picture and I said, wow. Who took this picture?
A friend of mine. We were walking.
A friend of yours? Yeah, you were where? In LA?
This was in France.
France, Cannes. It's a great dynamic picture.
I'm literally walking to a premiere. I am walking to a premiere.
And you waited for the sun.
This is our route. We had to
walk a palm tree.
This is on the Palais. We're walking to the premiere, and he just took that photo.
It's a great picture.
I was happy. I was happy.
Now, not on my part, but on your part, this was a great interview.
Oh, thank you.
And I am so blessed that you took the time and that I.
You have to understand. I grew up. I don't want to sound nostalgic, but it's true. I grew up watching you. Watching you. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, you're a legend. You are a legend in this town. And you know what? You do it well.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. A pleasure to be here with you.
Boa sorte.
Good luck to you as well.
And I want to say, Viva Portugal.
Viva Portugal. Oh, so you still like to carry
100%.
That flag?
100%. Hold on. The person who I need to photograph?
Yes.
Ronaldo. 100%. If anybody out there, any management, please, before I die, I need to photograph Ronaldo.
Contact George Pimentel.
It is my dream.
Okay. I hope it comes through.
Brazil.
Thank you. And thank you to our audience for being with us. Until next time, goodbye. Thank you.